Welcome, Queen. If you've ever been told to just be direct and the conversation still went to the left, it's not that you were weak. It's not that you were unclear. It's not even that you were lacking confidence. The issue at hand is actually understanding what's happening in the conversation. So if just be direct advice has ever made a situation for you worse, today's video is going to explain why. So here's the deal. When people say just be direct, what they fail to consider is different situations and different relationships have different nuances. So think about this. At work, you do not speak to your boss the same way you do to your coworkers. At home, you don't speak to your children or your spouse or even your in-laws the same. And depending on the culture that you grew up in, if you are a woman, you could have grown up in a culture that said you were to be seen and not heard, because women in some cultures are seen as less valuable, and therefore their ideas, their thoughts, and their perspectives are seen as less valuable because they are considered less important. So bluntness for some women can seem like something they cannot do. It can come across as unwise or even unsafe for them. So someone telling you to just be direct fails to understand that at work, at home, and with family and friends, the relationships and the dynamics of those relationships are not all the same. That's why there is a time and a place to give recommendations, directives, and advice. And if you give the wrong one, meaning recommendations, directives, or advice to the wrong person in the wrong environment, then it can actually make communicating with them more problematic. It can cause you to have more conflict in your conversations and with your communication, which naturally will make things worse for you. That's why communication is more than just being direct. So being direct is good, but being direct is incomplete, because communication requires us to have and recognize that regulation is needed. It ignores nervous system responses, and it does not address power equality, meaning there are some situations and contexts where you may not necessarily be the person of authority or empowered to make the final decision or have the final say. And just be direct advice does not address tone of voice or nonverbal cues. And when you are not in person, you cannot see nonverbal cues, but it does not mean that the person you're speaking to doesn't have nonverbal cues happening. And not being able to see their nonverbal cues to what you are communicating to them or with them can also create challenges for you, because they may be having resistance or an issue or some internal conflict happening within them that you have no idea is taking place, because again, you can't see it because you're not communicating with them in a face-to-face setting. And that can make communicating with them even more challenging, because you don't see the challenges that are taking place, and you could already be having a challenging or complex conversation with them. So as I said before, direct communication, or just be direct rather, is incomplete, because the context of what you say matters just as much as the content that you deliver when you speak. And there are two extremes where people typically fall when they communicate. And I invite you to determine which one you tend to lean toward objectively. So there's people pleasing And then there's aggression. With people pleasing, people tend to operate from the space and perspective of, I just want everyone to get along. I want to be a team player. I want to be liked. I want to be respected. I want to be included. And you know what? I want to keep the peace. Even if it means making a decision or going with the flow and I don't have peace about it. Then there are the people that tend to operate from the space of aggression, meaning they show up in such a way that they communicate, I will not let you disrespect me. I will not let you belittle me. I don't know who you think I am, but I'm going to show you what time it really is. Because you can try Jesus, but you better not ever try me. So as you can see, both people are communicating, but they do so in different ways. And here's the deal. Neither way or neither approach communicates confidence. They're both reactionary communication styles. They just show up differently. So whatever path you lean towards, here's what I want you to know. You have the power to change it. You don't have to let either path be your default communication style. So one chooses to be complacent, which is the people pleasing. And then the other, the aggression or aggressiveness, chooses confrontation or to be confrontational. So though they look different, they are both the same reaction communicated from a different perspective. They are both avoiding being uncomfortable. So avoiding discomfort is the root of both of those communication types. So here's the deal. True confidence is regulated. And that means that the best person to lead first is ourselves. Because leadership communication focuses on impact, not just intent. Other people don't know what we intend when we communicate. We know what we intend when we communicate. And unless you're a perfect person, which none of us are, every time we communicate, what we intend for others to receive is not what they truly experience. And that's okay, because as I said, you are not a perfect person. I am not a perfect person. Sometimes we're going to miss the mark. It's part of being human. So if we don't rephrase what someone said, ask someone, how did what we shared land with them? Or consider the beliefs that people already have and the situations that they may already be walking through that may be overwhelming them, then we can think that being direct is the best approach, when truly being direct with that person at that time in that situation with the context and the content that we want to deliver, it's actually not the best approach. Because again, people don't hear what we intend. They hear what their filter can process in that moment. And we all have filters. In its simplest form, a filter is nothing more than our own perspectives that we see with, hear through, and respond from, which impacts and affects our emotions and our feelings, which then drives our choices, and we see that in the way in which we live our lives. Stay with me, Queen. So, both a baby and a toddler can get loud. Both a plant and a goldfish cannot verbally speak. So, none of them have the authority to provide for themselves. So, what I want you to see here is that authority comes from steadiness, not by how loud we can be or how quiet we choose to be. Volume has nothing to do with it. That's why knowing when to speak and what to say and how to say it matters so much. So when you understand these things, then you will be able to recognize that just because somebody else's emotions shift doesn't mean your emotions have to shift with them. You'll be able to identify and recognize what's happening in them and make a conscious decision for yourself on what is best for you to do in that moment with that particular person, so that you can keep your peace even though that person may not have peace. So sometimes that looks like rephrasing what you said so it's clear that you are not attacking them or the way that they think. Sometimes that is giving them a moment and tabling the conversation to come back to it. And sometimes, Queen, that means not attempting to have that conversation with that person again because it just isn't worth it. This is why I am intentional about teaching communication through a confidence lens, not a performative one. And it's also why in my From Conflict to Confident framework, I show how to talk about the subjects that you want to talk about. And that's why we work on how to stay grounded, so that as you're talking about those subjects that matter to you, you're having the conversations that are near and dear to your heart, you can do so in a way in which you still show up as you, grounded, anchored, and rooted in the moment when the moment truly matters the most. And in the next video, Queen, we're going to talk about entitlement, because sometimes what we are calling confidence is actually people refusing to take responsibility. As always, I'm Coach Sam telling you that 24 hours doesn't seem long, but in 24 hours, you can change your life. So go ahead and do something life-changing now.